Okay, lesson 3. So you'll see something up here again in the PowerPivot tab called measures. So we're going to get to that. So obviously bringing in the values from each of these fact tables is it's fine. We can see these next to each other. But let's start using measures to kind of combine these. That makes it just more user-friendly. So to create a measure is basically just a new field, a new value of some sort. And it's a way to combine these data sets. Again, amateur here, I don't know all the, everything that can be used these for, but I've used these in pretty, detailed and deep ways. But what I'm going to do to make our lives easier, like I mentioned, you can pull the revenue forecast from the revenue forecast fact table, and then pull the actuals from the actuals table, and you see the sum of kind of a thing. And that's fine. But to make it easier for us to use those fields for creating different measures, like let's say that we want to create a variance. So what's our budget? What's our actuals to budget? Or whether it's dollars or whether it's percent variance. We're going to have to use both of those fields. So rather than pulling them pulling the field from each of those to do these values, I'm just going to create a new value that is the exact same value we already have. Now, let's walk through that. So I'm going to create a new value called revenue forecast. And it's probably not going to let me name it that same thing because there's already in there. So let's call it revenue space forecast. Now, this is DAX. So this is, again, not a tutorial on how to make this, but it's not like normal Excel where it's just do sum. We got to do sum X. We got to specify what table this is coming from. So it's going to be our fact forecast table. So we do that. That's the table it's coming from. Then it wants to know the expression. In other words, it's not the expression. The expression is also the value. So we know that we want it to be revenue forecast. So again, we're creating a new value, but it's not a new value. I'm actually just creating another value that's the revenue forecast. This will make a little bit more sense as we go along, because you can see that this is what it takes to just basically recreate that same measure. I just want it to be more standard. Okay, so now it automatically showed up, so you can see that. So revenue forecast. So no sum of, it's just a value that I created. Okay, so I'm going to just remove revenue forecast. I'm going to put it up there. So we have revenue forecast. Same numbers. So if we can see that they're the same numbers. Same numbers. Okay, and it should be. I just simply did a sum of all the revenue forecast in that table. I just wanted to name it something else. And again, this will become more clear as we make some other dimensions. So as you might have guessed, I'm going to do the same thing for revenue actuals. Again, you got to use sum X, fact actuals, and then do revenue actuals. And the nice thing about this is you can specify what type of value you want it to be, in this case currency. So it always stays that way instead of always having to go in and right click on it. We just took out the revenue forecast from the actual forecast. Actually, there's actuals from the actual data set. If I bring that back in, it's not in dollars anymore. I have to go back in here in number format. One benefit of creating that value, even though it's mimicking exactly the field and the value from the dimension table, you already have it formatted, so you can bring it in and out, and it's there. But that's actually the wrong one. So let's bring in the one we just created. There you go. I brought in by accident. I brought in the value from that data set, but I want to bring in what I just created. And when you're looking for these, you can see it says FX next to it. You know that that's a value that you created. So here we are. So now it's always going to be formatted for us. That's great. But we want to be able to see the variance. So let's create another measure. Okay, so let's do revenue variance. Let's just call it actually dollar variance. So all we do is we say, okay, let's do our actuals. Oh, sorry, what do we call it? We named it revenue actuals. There it is, revenue actuals divided by our revenue forecast minus 1. Oh, that's the percentage. Whoops, I'm doing the percentage here. So let's just do revenue actuals minus revenue forecast. Okay, so if we had not created these in the first place, we would have had to do this again. So sum x and pick the dimension or the table, then click the value and do the same thing right here. Because we did it once, now we can always reference that exact value by just typing this in. We don't have to do the complicated formula again. That's the benefit of doing that. So if we do that, click OK. Should bring it in for us. Okay, so our dollar variance is we are in, for the all-purpose industry, I guess we're still looking at industry. But if we look at total, you know, we missed our forecast by $4 million. Well, okay, well, what if our forecast, we can see it here, it's not, but what if our forecast was $100 million? You know, the percentage there is different. So let's just make a new measure and call this percent variance. And you guessed it, we're going to go revenue actuals. This is what we were starting to do before. Revenue forecast minus 1. We want to make this one not currency. We want to make this percentage. That's housed in number. Just click the drop down, and we don't care about decimals. Again, much better than having to type in sum x, of the revenue actuals divided by the sum x of the, this is much easier. So we missed our forecast by 56%. So that's a big deal. It's a big miss. So that is how you create measures. Now we can say, and again, the beauty of and the power of PowerPivot is because these are all already linked in our underlying data model. We've got customer linked, we've got product linked, we've got country linked, we've got region linked. Now we just, okay, you know what? Well, what customers really missed? So let's bring in our customers. So who are the biggest customers that missed? Wow, Best Buy missed by 81%. And too bad that all of us missed. Can't give any good stories here. Oh, Wing Coop, my favorite wing place. They missed by 89%. So, okay, well, let's get some more intelligence here. What geos? We got to know what geos missed here. So what geos missed the most? So it looks like APAC, we missed the most. Okay, and you get the idea. We can look at our products, our actual products. So our products, what products did we not do well on? So we didn't do good in bikes. We did bad. Blank. I don't know what the blank is. We should find that out. So let's go to blank. There's a blank product somewhere. I wonder what that means. So why would that be? So let's look at our forecast. Let's start with looking at our forecast. So generally what that means is that there's probably some product that's in one of the fact data sets that for some reason is not in our product dimension table. So here we have 10 products: chair, trampoline, a book, a soccer ball, a bike, a piano, guitar, microphone, a bagel, and a Tacoma. So if we look at our forecast, let's look at the products. Obviously with only 10 products, this is easy. Otherwise, you could pull in products from each of the, let's actually do that. I'll show you how we could do that. So let's go back to our data model. Let's make another tab. Let's just call it analysis. We want to know, why do we have a blank? So what I like to do is let's get rid of all these values. We have product here. So let's bring in product from forecast. So I'll bring in product and just drop it under the product that we've already brought in from our product dimension table. Okay. And actually that's not what I was trying to do. So let's look up, so we have product from our forecast. Okay, there is the 10 there. There's 11 there. So do we, or we mail peanut butter. Peanut butter. We forecasted for peanut butter. Interesting. So let's look at our actuals product list. Oh, we didn't have any actuals for peanut butter. So let's go to our dimension table. We don't have peanut butter on here. Okay. So what this is telling us, we forecasted for peanut butter. We didn't get any actuals for peanut butter. But we created a dimension table so that we could look at products between the two. But here we ran into a problem where one of those data sets has a value for a product that is not in our, for a dimension that we don't have listed. So simple enough. And obviously I'm just going to make up a product number. I'm going to call it 11. We're going to call it peanut butter. And I don't know, I'm going to make up a list price. It's going to be really good peanut butter. It's going to be $8. Okay. So now let's go back and refresh our model. So this is just a little bit of data vetting, and that other goes away. We've got peanut butter. We forecasted for it. Don't have anything. Missed it by 100%. Missed it by everything. So that's, there will be times where this happens, where there's a blank. It doesn't always mean that it's not in your dimension table, but a lot of times it is, that there's some value in your fact. There's some of one of those dimensions. In this case, we're looking at product. So in this case, there was a product that was in one of our fact tables. Actuals or forecasts, but if you had 10 of them, it might be in one of those 10. That doesn't exist in the dimension table. So we got to find it. And it's easy enough to add it, but sometimes finding it's the hardest. We only had 10, 11 products, so it's not so bad. So, this kind of, again, shows the power of PowerPivot. So we were able to see all these different dimensions, see the variances for them, because we built the dimension tables and linked them. So that's the end of this lesson.